Alright, peace reflections, peace. Back again. Hope all my reflections can see me. Hope all my reflections can see me. Back here to do another video. My video I was just previously making had just cut off. I was in an area that I wasn't getting signal, and my bars were low. I had to move in order to get signal. And this is the same thing all those reflections out there need to do, is move out of Babylon, because you're a cell phone, a transmitter, and the signals that one is receiving and transmitting come from the sun, and the sun is close to the sun signals are close to the equator, and one is in Babylon, and Babylon is not close to the equator, it's north from the equator, and one needs to get out and migrate back to the source, back to where the tower, the antenna is, to connect and get the signals that we need to receive. So anyways, I'm just going to get right into this. My video today is going to be on how low vibrational thought frequencies will affect one's energy and reality. So in Babylon we see this all the time. We see beings affected by low vibrational beings. Even outside of Babylon, there's areas where beings come into one's reality and one's life, and their negative thoughts and the way that they think alters one's own one's own thoughts. Everything is a reflection of self. But when some beings come in to one's reality and come in with different thoughts and different frequency, it can alter one's frequency and one's thought based off one's astrological energy. I happen to have an astrological energy where one can be easily affected and manipulated. Not manipulated, but I can lose sight of certain things sometimes. It's just like the domino effect. If you have like 10 or 12 people in a room, and one goes to, and we're all sitting down, and one goes to, we just got done doing some activity or whatever, and one goes to grab some water. All those beings would probably, 9 out of 12 of those beings would get up and go get some water, because it started the chain reaction. The first person who was like, oh, I needed some water, the next person would go up like, oh, I needed some water, and it caused a chain reaction because that thought was put in someone else's brain who was just chilling and trying to relax after an activity, and then had just gotten up to go get some water because another being had felt the urge and the need to go get some water. And it started a chain reaction. This was because of someone else's thought, someone else's idea that they manifested and started a chain reaction. Now, this is a lot of what's happening in these being affected by low vibrational beings. Low vibrational beings have low vibrational thoughts, and these low vibrational thoughts can take a toll and can actually affect another's energy, especially if one is on a high frequency and is trying to walk the true narrow path, the righteous path. One will encounter low vibrational beings with low vibrational thoughts. This is why it's so important to detach from anything that no longer serves you. Detach from anything that no longer serves one's higher purpose. This is very, very important to detach from anything that no longer serves one's higher purpose. Because one will encounter these low vibrational beings with low vibrational frequencies and low vibrational thoughts, and they can, if one studies astrological energy and knows how they are affected, how some other astral energies will affect their astral energies, and just one must know thyself. This is why it's important to be in solitude, because when one is in solitude, one will know thyself, and then one will know one's astral energy, one will know how one thinks, one will know what thoughts are theirs, and then when an energy force or a being comes inside one's reality and manifests and changes one's own thoughts, they'll be able to know, because they'll be thinking and they'll be like, wait a minute, this is not how one thinks, this is not how I think, this is not how one normally orchestrates their life and idea. Now granted, there are some times where beings of a higher consciousness, or beings that are that serve a certain purpose in one's relationship, come into one's reality, and then they can be useful, and then one can have an equal exchange of energy to be useful in one's reality, and then those beings, whether depending on the frequency, will either keep vibrating on the same frequency or they will depart. And this is how it happens. Now, when one is on a consciousness and one is on the path of the journey to the righteous path and coming back to nature and raising to their higher consciousness, to their higher self, one will encounter these beings. I have been given a gift, astrologically, to be able to be analytical. One is still working on oneself too. There are one, as one said, one is easily affected by other people's thoughts and and energies. So I have a Cancer moon, so one is easily affected by other people's emotions and can feel emotion, can feel energy. One is tapping into this now by reading astrology. This is how one's been able to tap in. This is how one's been able to the word I'm looking for, hone in and harness this skill and ability that one has, is being able to study astrology and being able to be in seclusion and just dealing with oneself before one deals with other energies. And even now, dealing with other energies too, there's still so much that's learning, because everything is a test. Everything is like chess. It's always a move before a move before a move, always orchestrating and planning out for the next plan and seeing things before they happen. And this is in chess too. When one plays chess, they're always seeing things before they happen and addressing those things before they happen, and being able to be the mediator of one's own reality, becoming the master of one's own reality, because one can see things before they happen. And may not be conscious about them, or may just have some low vibrational thought was like, oh, I'll just let it happen and blah blah blah. No, this is not how it's supposed to be. When one is the master of their reality, one will quickly see what serves and what does not serve them in their reality, will quickly make judgment, will quickly be able to address certain situations and address things, and self-improvement. This is what it's supposed to be: self-improvement, to be improve oneself, and to point out one's flaws, and to be able to improve oneself. Now, beings will come along and they don't want to improve. They are confused. They are vibrating at a low frequency, have detachments and demons that one is not ready to let go of. And this will affect one's reality. If one's not on one's consciousness and one's frequency, focused on the narrow righteous path of getting the message out there, sending the broadcast out there, and awakening other beings out there to send out the electrical signal and be in harmony and tune and one with nature, then these beings, they're not on your frequency. They're stumbling blocks, and one needs to get rid of these stumbling blocks, because stumbling blocks will trip a being up from doing the right thing and being on the righteous path. And astrology is very important to understand. I'm almost coming into this now, of this awakening of understanding how important astrology is. Very important. If I don't stress this enough to all my reflections, I stress so much, so urgently, to go read one's astrology and be able to be in tune and in point with oneself. Know thyself, know how one thinks, know how one is orchestrating and manipulating their own energy, so that one is able to see things and be able to be the masters and the orchestrators of one's own reality. This is what it's all about. This is the point, is to become the master of one's reality. Because if one's not the master of one's reality, one will experience pain. One will have beings that will come inside their reality and tear things up and be of no service to them and be painful. And they will not serve one's higher purpose. If one is consciousness and on a little bit on the frequency, of course these beings that have tapped in are on this frequency, and even if it's just for the moment, they're on this frequency. And they can vibrate at a certain understanding of my intellect and my divine wisdom that has been given to me from Master Teacher, that I am able to reflect on all these light beings out there. And I urge all the beings out there to study astrology and to look into one's reality and see the beings that are in one's reality. This is all a figment of one's imagination. It's all a figment of one's brain. It's all a figment of one's projection. It's a projection. It's a hologram. It's a holographic universe. Everything is a reflection of self, astrological reflection of self. So beings will come into one's reality and play a role in one's, based off one's astrological energy. And now these can be a high vibration of good beings that will be there to help, like Master Teacher and some of my reflections here at Melanation, my reflections here at Melanation, who are here to help. All beings are here to help, even the low vibrational beings. Let me reiterate what I just said. All beings, even the low vibrational beings, are here to help one analyze and be sharper and be more keen and be able to point out flaws inside oneself to better oneself, because this is what it is. It's all about being able to better oneself and being able to do the right thing at all times. When no one is looking is the most important thing. Do the right thing when no one is looking. This is the most important thing. key thing is to do the right thing when no one is looking, because one cannot lie to oneself. Everything's being recorded. Everything is being recorded in one's reality. One must be aware that everything's being recorded in one's reality, and one must become the orchestrator, one must become the master, and one must be able to see all things in one's reality. So it's very important to always do the right thing when no one is looking, and give before one asks or when one receives. Om has made the mistake in past times and in existence that has given a lot and was taken advantage of back in a low vibrational back in Babylon. These were things that needed to happen for me when I got into my higher consciousness, so I can look back and actually see what these were. Om has also been on the other end, and has experienced asking for before not receiving, and not giving. You know what I mean? Just asking and not giving. So these are things that Om has done. I think we've all experienced this on both frequencies and both sides, but sometimes, like I said, other energies can alter one's, and if one does not know their astrological energy, they will not know that one is more susceptible to when someone goes and grabs a drink of water, one will go and grab another drink, will grab a drink of water even if one's not thirsty, based off someone else's thought, based off someone else's what someone else's energy has done to one's energy, just by thought. Just one person could think something, go do an action, and then one would copy that action based off just being susceptible to certain beings and not knowing one's astrological energy, and knowing that's a debilitation in some cases. But that's also a strength in some cases too, because when one has encountered a higher vibrational being, or a being that's on the same frequency of understanding that is helping one, they will be more susceptible to be able to follow that divine being and be able to pick up and take heed of the messages and grow and be able to rise in consciousness and better oneself. So it is a debilitation, but it is also a strength. One can turn this into a strength. But now, knowing this, one is able to see within the reality, and everything's a test. Everything is a test. Let me stress this. Everything is a test. Every single thing in one's reality is a test. Okay? I want to stress this. Everything's a test. So Mama will test when one's coming out of Babylon. One will be tested. When one gets out of Babylon and comes to meets up with one's tribes, and when their vibe attracts one's tribe and is in a certain conscious level and coming up, they will be tested then, and they will keep being tested and keep being tried, because there's comfort and then there's growth. There's comfort and then there's growth. Growth does not happen in a comfort zone. Growth happens in an interchangeable, where everything's just off the same blueprint, but changing, forever changing. Time does not exist, because everything just changes and changes and changes. And this is where someone grows. When one stays in their comfort zone and is not able to make changes, and not able to point out one's flaws, not able to grow from one's own mistakes, not able to see and admit one's own mistake and not lie to oneself, then this is where one gets stuck in a low vibrational state, where one is stagnant, becomes stagnant energy, and becomes a stumbling block for anyone around them. One must know thyself. One must become in tune with oneself. One must see reflection of oneself and become better. One must better oneself and not become a stumbling block. Move around stumbling blocks, become one's higher self, and be able to become the master of one's reality. This is important, to become the master of one's reality. We're all here to become the master of one's reality, whether that's at a low vibrational or a high vibration. The low vibrational beings are unconscious of a lot of things, so to become the master of one's reality will generally not happen. But when one is at a higher consciousness and a higher frequency, it is important that we analyze, know one's astral energy, know how one thinks, know how one operates, know how one maneuvers energy. Feel energy, be able to do this, tap into one's to one's emotions. I have Moon in Cancer. Moon in Cancers have very intuitive, being able to be very intuitive and feel emotion. So when so Om taps into this. Om is very keen in learning how to tap into this and learning how to maneuver this energy and use it for one's own benefit, because no matter where you go, no matter where one goes, there they are. No matter where one goes, there they are. One cannot lie to oneself. One cannot hide from oneself. The truth is always the truth, and the truth will always be there. And it can never change. The truth will never change. The truth is always going to be there. So one cannot deny in one's reality and oneself. One needs to point out things, become the master, become helpful. This is important, reflections. It's very important that we become the master, become the orchestrator. Love oneself. To love oneself is to understand oneself, to understand how one is able to maneuver and how one focuses their energy and how one is able to project their energy into this realm. Because we project our energy astrologically, but if one does not know their astrological energy, they will not know how they're projecting their own energy. And this can be a debilitation because one could be doing something unconsciously that is affecting their reality if they were conscious. If one was conscious of what one was projecting into their reality astrologically, then they would know how to control it and how to detach from it if it was not serving one's higher purpose. One just wanted to make this video of energy and what energy is. Remember, energies, astrological beings, reflections of self that come into one's reality, and their thoughts will have an effect on one's thought. This is why it's important to be in solitude. This is why it's important to stay away from low vibrational beings if one is a high vibrational being, because the low vibrational beings and their thoughts will manifest in one's reality based off how one is thinking. Not always, but there's if one is around these beings enough, it will happen, and one will start to see this if one is conscious of this. So become conscious of this. Become conscious of one's own energy. Become conscious of how one thinks. And then when beings enter one's reality, and one is thinking different, notices that one is thinking different, be like, okay, I know how one thinks. I know how I think. That over there is not how I think. That is a low vibrational being. That being does not belong in one's reality. So, become the masters. Energy and thoughts. We're all energy forces. We're all forces of energy. We're all astrological consciousness. And energies affect other energies. Frequencies affect other frequencies. When two frequencies are on a different vibration, they repel each other, just like magnets. They repel. But when two frequencies are on the same vibration, they magnetically attract. And there's harmony. And one will be able to see the harmony when beings attract and are on the same frequency, and then one will be able to see the disharmony and the stagnant energy when two beings that are not on the same frequency, or that are not vibrating on the same frequency, repel each other. And one will know this. One will know this through one knowing how one thinks, knowing just how one's reality normally is, and if one's reality changes and it's not for the better, then one can see that the being that has entered one's reality is a detriment to one's reality, and it needs to be pointed out, needs to be spotted out, and it needs to be addressed. And don't lie to oneself. Cannot lie to oneself. Never lie to oneself, because wherever you go, wherever one goes, there they are. Never lie. Everything's being recorded. I love myself.